Creating a selection around a face and telling Photoshop to add a beard will not give you great results. The variations look realistic, but we lost prominent facial features and the smile. Instead, let me show you a fantastic technique I developed to paint in realistic facial hair in Photoshop using Gen Fill. The first step is to press the Q key on the keyboard to enable the quick mask mode. Notice that the layer highlights in red. This lets you know that you are inside of the quick mask mode. Then you can enable the brush tool, and from here, you can paint with black to deselect and paint with white to select. When you press the Q key again to exit the quick mask mode, you'll notice that this selection is selecting the entire canvas and Photoshop is not selecting the areas that I painted with black. But this is not what I want. I want the opposite. I want to paint only over the areas where Generative Fill will add content. To set this up, double click on the quick mask icon below the toolbar, then choose selected areas. Now when I paint with white, nothing happens, but if I paint with black, Photoshop will now make a selection. I'll press the Q key to exit the quick mask mode and notice how the edges are no longer selected. You can think of it as Photoshop inverting the colors. Now black selects the areas that I paint over rather than deselect. Also, I would recommend changing the overlay color. It's currently red, which could be difficult to see when you paint over skin tones. So double click on the swatch and change the red value to 0 and the green value to 255 to make it green. Then press OK twice. Notice how the layer highlight is now green, indicating that the quick mask mode is active and the overlay will be green when we paint over the image. Now I'm going to resize my brush. You can use the bracket keys on the keyboard to adjust your brush size. They're next to the letter P in North American keyboards. Also, make sure that you reduce your hardness down to 0. You can use the slider or hold Shift and tap on the bracket keys to increase or decrease the hardness. Then simply paint over the areas where you would like the beard to appear. I'm not going to select the nose, and I'm just going to paint along his jawline like so. It's okay if you go over his lips. I'll show you how to remove some of these green areas in a moment. And just continue painting until you get everything. If you make a mistake like I did here on his lips, just selecting a little too much, you can hold the tilde key on the keyboard. That's to the left of the number 1 in North American keyboards, and you can paint as you hold down to remove those green areas like so. I want to keep his original lips, and also you can remove any other imperfections like in the jaw here or any other area that you like. Then you can simply press the Q key on the keyboard, click on Generative Fill, and simply type the word beard. At the moment, Photoshop does not understand commands, so no need to include the word add. Just adding the word beard will work just fine. Then I'll click on Generate, and Photoshop will give me 3 variations that look fantastic. I'll click through them and see which one works best. In this case, I think I like this second one the best, so that's the variation that I'll keep. In order for this effect to look more realistic, what I recommend that you do is click on the layer mask for this Generative Fill layer and fill with black. Since black is currently my background color, I can press Ctrl and Backspace, and that fills the layer mask completely with black, hiding all the contents of this layer. I can now paint with white, so I can only reveal the mustache if I wanted to. And of course, the rest of the beard, whatever works best for your image. The advantage of using this technique is that we get to keep the original facial features, making the effect more realistic. Before and after. What do you think? Leave your thoughts below. My name is Jesus Ramirez. Thanks for watching.